Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Can you dig
it? And your co-host, Spaz.
Still playing Battletech.
How many hours now?
Oh, let's see. 295.
Woo-hoo-hoo! I don't know if I think there might be a game. I think I can count on maybe one or two hands the games I've put that much time into. That's amazing.
I am enjoying it that much.
That's great. That is great. I will get back to it maybe when my love of Warhammer Inquisitor fades. I need a break from that. But that's the gravy train I'm on right now. Hunter will be joining us. Oh, God, I'm fighting a sneeze. In a moment. He had to run off to take a phone call real quick. But welcome, everyone. Tonight is a topic show. And our topic actually comes from community member, I don't know his real name, Fermian Ace, over on our Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord, by the way, it is pretty god darn awesome. We have a lot of people there. We have developers there. We all hang out. It's a very friendly place. Lots of great chats about games and movies and Warhammer and Battletech. It's not just space games. It's a lot. It's just we love games. We love games. So if you haven't joined our Discord yet, by the way, please do so. There should be a link somewhere wherever you're watching this. So community member Fermian Ace and Hunter, we're talking about how the current resurgence we're in, the current space game resurgence, started, like how it's going and how we think it'll end, because it is going to end. Let's just be honest. These things happen in cycles, and we're due eventually for another dark period, which is why it's kind of good we're getting all these space games now. You know. So background, if you're new to all this, and if you're listening to this podcast, you probably aren't. But space games were big for a long time, like in, say, the mid-'80s to the late 90s. That's at least on the PC. And then they kind of died for about 12, 13 years. There were space games, but they were few and far between. There were barely any big releases. It was mostly indie stuff. A lot of Eastern European stuff. A lot of Russian stuff. Like Star Wolves and Space Rangers. Came out during that time. A lot, and the X Games. The X Games were probably some of the biggest games to come out during that period. That and like the Evercron games was probably the biggest indie stuff, and of course Space Rangers. But then in around 2012, 11 or 12, things started gathering steam again. And a lot of people, like, I did some reading on this and I did some thinking on this, and a lot of people would probably point to Star Citizen as the impetus for this. What do you guys think about that? Like Star Citizen being the spark that lit the flame of the current renaissance.
Yeah, I would say that it probably proved a financial point to a lot of indie developers, that there was a hot market there. And then as they continue to not deliver, then other people are like, hey, I can get in this too, because people are still hot for it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting though, because in that same year, I think a game that also helped spark this was Endless Space. That came out that same year, and that was a big release. I don't know if you guys remember.
Stuff.
Yeah, like that and Sins of a Solar Empire came out that year. Rebellion, Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion. And they both got a lot of attention. I was really surprised by that back in the day. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I didn't remember it was that year, but yeah.
I got that game in its initial release.
What, Endless Space?
Well, both Endless Space and Sins of Solar Empire.
Yeah, they were big titles. And I think they also helped kind of springboard. I think those also helped kind of springboard the genre back to life a little bit. Like, they were part of the defibrillator. I'm going to use a lot of metaphors tonight, guys. Space Game Junkie at Tanagra. So a lot of metaphor tonight, you guys. But it's kind of weird. Yeah, Star Citizen. And it's funny that Elite Dangerous's Kickstarter started a month after Star Citizen's. Roughly. Remember that? Like, Star Citizen was like October of 2012.
Yeah, it was like in quick succession. It was like Chris Roberts did his Kickstarter, and then Richard Garriott, and then
oh, that's right.
Like,
that's right.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's when Kickstarter was also new and shiny, and no one had really gotten super burned yet. So everyone was like, let's throw all our money at it. So
and that was back when you were even detailing the space games that were coming out on the blog.
Right.
Because there were enough of them that you could actually do that to, and
I know
you weren't overwhelmed.
I know, it was really weird. Oh yeah, Joshua, thank you for reminding me that Nexus, the Jupiter incident, came out in the mid-aughts as well. That was a big release. That got a decent amount of attention back in 2006. I think that one was. Oh my god.
Oh no, Nexus was way before that.
Was it? I thought it was 2006.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember like watching my friend play it over at his house.
2003 maybe?
Yeah, maybe then.
Hang on, I'm going to look it up because I thought it was late. No, you might be right. Oh my god, you might be right. Maybe it was earlier than that. It's way too... Oh, wait. Is it 2004? Yeah, it's 2004. You're right. I was wrong. 2004? Okay, so it's 14 years old. Oh my god.
Yeah, but Chris, we got to say the Free Space 2 modding community never lost focus.
Oh my god.
They've been cranking mods since the day that thing came out.
Well, once they got the source code in the early aughts, was it 2002, 2001 they got the source code?
Something there, yeah.
Yeah, they have not, God bless them, they have not lost momentum in keeping that community and that game going. So
my thought, because I've been on the submarine thing for like a week, right? My thought about that is, has anybody ever tried in Free Space 2 to convert it into Subwar 2050? Because it's fighters, but it would be underwater instead of, because they have that, remember there's that nebula mission and it's like that wall of fog that you're flying through?
Yeah, that could be water. That could be underwater. Yeah,
darken that up and that's your short vision range in the water. Yeah, you just need to be able to put like ground underneath. And I don't know if the engine would be very happy with that. But yeah, you know, lasers go away. It's all torpedoes. We're good.
I'll be honest, I've been trying to track down the Particle Systems folks so we can talk to them about iWar and Subwar. I have not been able to find one of them. It is tough.
It was Particle Systems that worked on that? Because I know Microprint published it, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Microprose published it, but yeah, it was the iWar guys. It was Particle Systems.
Oh wow!
That's one of the reasons it's so awesome.
Yeah, I actually bought Subwar 2050 off GOG the other night because I was just like, yeah, I gotta have that because I was watching some dude play it in a video, and I managed to get it running like, I don't know, most of my monitor. So whatever the ratio is, it's a little bit stretched out, but it's like maybe 2560 by 1440 or something. I got it, cranked up, and I mean it's not like it goes high res, but it scales, and
right,
you know, it's cool.
It's so I was actually pretty game,
yeah. And I played that. I played a little Archimedean Dynasty. I just don't. I see Archimedean Dynasty has like a lot of potential. But it just doesn't do it for me like Subwar does because it's got pew lasers, right? And then what's the other one? Aquanox, right? Aquanox is freaking Descent, dude. It's Descent with bubbles.
It's also in the same. It's also in the same universe as Archimedean Dynasty. Those games are in those games are in the same universe.
I didn't realize
enough.
it was the same. Yeah,
I know, right? You wouldn't know by playing them, by just playing them, because they're so different. They're so different. Our first tangent of the night goes to submarine games. I'll tell you, I if I ever become like independently wealthy, I want to dedicate a whole day to just streaming naval games. That's like the dream. Anyway, so yeah, 2012 is really when shit started kind of blowing up. And if you folks, I don't know if you know, but SpaceGameJunkie.com has a wiki, and in that wiki is a list of all the space games that have been released for computers, like ever, just about. And like throughout the aughts, it was like, oh, there were a few games in 2007, 2008. In 2012, there was a bunch, but it just ramps up every year after 2012. Like 2013, we have the new Space Rangers, we have Pandora, we have X Rebirth. What else do we have?
Oh, 2011, Space Pirates and Zombies.
That's right. That was a big one for 2011. Everyone loved that game. And we also had Starpoint Gemini, the first one. And
the first one, not so great. Everything that came after, better and better and better.
Yeah, they really, really improved it. But then you have 2013 with like Pandora, Space, Return of the Pixel for Strike Suit Zero was 2013. And then 2014 had Elite Dangerous, Ethereum, Last Federation. But like, you can tell games take 3 to 4 years to make, because it's really 2015 and 2016 that shit really starts to get crazy. Like in 2015. Sorry, go ahead.
By the way, since you said Ethereum, for God's sake, the Steam sale is coming. If you don't have Ethereum, buy frickin' Ethereum.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
As good as you're going to get until that unnamed thing from Eric and Rebel Galaxy guys comes out.
Oh, it's
gonna which be so I think we should talk about the screenshots that are the little animated.
Let's save them. Let's save that for the end.
Okay. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, but 2015 has, oh my god, 2015 has holy crap, Astrox, Conflicts. Remember that one, the chicken flicking game?
Oh yeah.
Distant Star, Gratuitous Space Battles 2, Galciv 3, Infinite Space 3, Reassembly, Rebel Galaxy. Remember the original Rebel Galaxy, 2015. Star Drive 2, Starhammer. 2015, Star Ruler 2, a lot of crap in 2015, and it's just every year, 2015, 2016, 2017, huge. And I don't know about you guys, but this year it feels like it's starting to slow down a bit. Have you guys felt that way as well?
No, not really. I mean, if you look at a bunch of the stuff, the indie stuff that has come out this year has been like hard and fast still. We haven't got a Rebel Galaxy this year, right? Please, Eric, please. But
yeah, we've gotten 15 games this year, which is what, 3 a month?
Yeah,
that's not bad. I guess.
Yeah, that's not bad. No, and
that's right. That's true.
I mean, it's just like the first person cockpit sim stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's going to catch a resurgence or whatever. I think there's a lot of fatigue with Elite right now, because people were like, oh, we can't compete with Elite. And it's like, oh, but you can. Please. But it's just kind of like that kind of took the market with all those people that wanted a cool first person, grab your joystick sim. Yeah. And I think there's endless amounts of room to run in there and steal their cookies, though, because they're not doing it. But yeah, I think people kind of slacked off on that, but we got a lot of like the top down stuff, like Void Expanse and
Reassembly,
those things.
Beyond Soul and
the Drox Operative.
Drox. Oh.
Yeah, Drox Operative.
Drox Operative.
And the amazingly great 3030 Death War.
Hell yeah. Which
I was trying to sell Greenleaf on, or Crunchy Leaf rather. I was trying to sell Crunchy Leaf on, hey, what about 3030 Sub War. Yeah, you guys, they're already working on something else, but yeah.
Oh, here's interesting. Serial kicked
I'm trying
over.
to squeeze a damn Sub War 2050 out of somebody.
Serial kicked over on YouTube says he knows dozens of devs still in the middle of coding yet another space game. That's interesting language, though. Yet another space game. Have we reached that point where it's yet another space game?
I hope we do. I hope we hit it and stay there, because
but the thing is, we can't.
Then,
we can't maintain that momentum.
Yet another
forever.
flight simulator. I would like yet another flight simulator. I would just like an equivalent to U.S. Navy fighters. Please, can we get something, accessible flight?
That would be great.
That would be, yeah. I think the window's open for that. Like, if these people like, all right, you figured out how to make a space sim. You want to do something else? Flight sim. Just do it.
Give me another fighters anthology. I'll be happy. That's all I need. Or USA.
Yes.
And make sure you
isn't
have.
that technically what Rogue System turned into?
What?
No, not Rogue System. Rogue System.
Well, I'm saying the idea of the flight sim in space.
Oh no, we're not even talking about space. We're just talking about we want a survey sim. That is fun.
I'm not saying like a high-end sim. I'm saying airplane. Like, if you look at like the Novalogic games, like Novalogic F-16,
which
or
are
F-22 or whatever,
still fun.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. That's modern would be great. And you don't have to go into the rivet count and stuff. You don't have to go into like the honest to God, what I would throw like $50, just I would pitch it at the screen so hard, is if they made like a reboot of F-19 Stealth Fighter with modern graphics with the same gameplay. I would be so there.
Please, someone do that. Please, someone get the rights of that from Microprose. However, wherever Microprose's rights are, I don't know where they are now.
It's like, I can't think of a more simple flight sim to do than that.
But it was so good.
Given today's, well, yeah, back then they had to roll their own engine, but today you got Unreal Engine, whatever.
But the gameplay was so good. It was like Thief in a plane, basically. That's exactly what it was. And it was so good. But so it's good to know that we're still kicking, that a lot of the space games are still, I'm still discovering new space games in like the Steam upcoming list, in itch.io, in Kickstarter. So it's good to know a lot of them are still being made. But I'm just worried how long this momentum can keep going. You know what I mean? Like,
well, the market's interesting though, because right now the market it's not just saturated with space games. It's saturated with thousands of other types of games that are. It's not all of them are bad. No, I'm not even trying to suggest that. It's more like discoverability is an issue.
It's a huge issue, and even with space games, it's a shame that like some of them are so hard to find, and they deserve better. Like, I'm still upset about Orbital Racer. Like, that's an amazing game that hardly anybody played. And now it's going to the Switch. And it's getting multiplayer. Just on the Switch. Which makes me so mad. But I can't blame them. I can't be mad. I can't be upset with them. You know? They're going where the money is. They're going where the audience is. You know?
Yeah, and basically, like, it used to be, hey, I came out on Steam. That's guaranteed money. Well, now if you come out on the Switch and you're decent, that's guaranteed money.
Yeah, is like the Switch now what Steam was in 2010? Like, say, 8 years ago? 9, 8,
well, it's a great platform that's desperate for games right now. So it's a definite seller's market.
Right, but they'll probably hit the same issues Steam does eventually. Just oversaturation.
They curate, man. It's not like
that's true. It is Nintendo. It is Nintendo. They are a lot more stringent than Steam seems to be. Steam's like, you got $100? Bring on your pornographic visual novel. Well, maybe not anymore. But
I heard they reversed on that actually.
They did, and it's.
I heard that
they did, and a lot of people are confused by it because apparently the games that they reversed it on have been there for years.
Yeah. Yeah,
and were very successful.
Yeah, the issue came up with that because a certain conservative religious group is the one who actually made the complaints, and they're more along the lines of claiming that they made the complaints on behalf of protecting quote unquote women and girls, but they're not really about that. That's not what the organization's actually about. That's just their cover to try to control what other people like. It's literally stop liking what I don't like. And then they filed the complaints to Valve, and then all this happened, and then they declared victory. So
maybe that's why it got reversed. Valve didn't like the association with the group, so they said, well, maybe not.
Well, also, it was being very inconsistent about how the ruling was coming down, because there are games that were included in this whole fiasco that not only had they been on there for years, but had also made very strict changes in order to work with Valve and make sure that it fit the guidelines that had been set. So
yeah, and all the other stuff, all the like hentai stuff will come on there and just be like, oh yeah, when you buy the game, like go to our site and download the titties patch, and so it's like they bypass it anyway. So I don't get it.
Right, and that's the other part of it, is that when you're talking about removing a game because of sexual content, then that could be something like the Witcher games, which have unquestionably sexual content, but they're not getting touched. And I'm using that in every sense of the term. But other games are. And it seemed like they were just being specifically targeted, even though it was very inconsistent in the ruling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about ejecting trash off the platform, and we've seen it.
But that's the thing: is that actually trash though? I mean, if they've actually worked with Valve to fit all the community guidelines that have been set by Valve, to get on the platform, and they're successful.
I'm talking about like whatever adventure game of the day, right? Like that space thing that was basically like Honey Select in space. It's just like, it's a game about simulating sex with hot robot women or whatever. And it's like, yeah.
How did we get on this topic?
I have no idea. It's my fault somehow.
I think it might actually be mine. Anyway, but I think that is one of the things that might bring about the next decline of the genre, is this discoverability problem that we're talking about. I mean, people only have so much time and so much money, and there's only so much nostalgia for space games to go around.
Yeah, but I think we're still waiting on the good one, right? I mean, it's like there's some pretty alright ones, but we're still waiting on like the next Wing Commander or TIE Fighter or something, that will do it for everybody.
I don't think it's going to be Star Citizen. I'll tell you that right now. I think
no.
I would agree. I don't think it's going to be Star Citizen.
Welcome back, Hunter.
Yeah. Emergency call right before the show.
Everything okay? Anyway. Everything okay?
Yeah. So anyway,
are you okay? Are you okay?
Everything on my end's fine. Yes.
Okay. I think Star Citizen is, I hate to say this, I think it's crashing and it's burning, which is probably going to happen, is going to help bring about at least a partial downfall of the genre.
There's some insider news that we've kind of heard from some of that stuff that would lead to believe that there's definitely going to be not good things in the future from that.
Well, I mean, why would they ship a game at this point? They're making so much money selling fake ships.
Because they already have shipped a game.
No, it's not a game. It's not.
Well, I know you say that, but neither is Elite Dangerous. But like that's considered a fully fledged game, right? But like what's really there though? Like, okay, listen, it's a shell of a game that has some good qualities to it. And this is not me trying to like downplay Elite Dangerous, because there are times where I've enjoyed Elite Dangerous. But listen, there's times where I've enjoyed the aspects of Star Citizen that I played too. Back when Star Citizen was just an arena commander, or not arena commander, but like the flight racing thing, like I was down with that. And it was just a space combat sim, and there was no first person running around junk. That was fun. I had a good time in those early days with what they had. But like that same kind of experience that I had with those early days, I can have in Elite Dangerous too, where I'm just shooting a few NPCs. I can get credits in Elite Dangerous, and then those credits like just grind me up to the biggest, baddest ship. And then once I've like min-maxed my stats, what do I do next? Like deliver more leaflets and play the backbone.
Did you hear what they're thinking of doing with that, by the way? With the power play stuff, did you hear about that?
I did not.
It's going to be open only. So if you want to do power play, you can only play in open. That's
good.
That's what they're talking about now.
Good.
Well, that's good, because that's exactly what they needed to do. Because the private and single player stuff should not affect the public play at all, and vice versa. Like, it makes no sense to do that, because why would it? But like, if you want to get to like the meat of the matter, is I agree with Jim. I really don't think we have had the it game yet, and I don't know when or if that'll actually ever come. I think the biggest problem that we run into is balance, right? I think that we get a lot of great, wow, this game looks great and it plays great, but then after a little while, it's just like, like it's the same kind of problem that Eve Valkyrie has, right? It's an arena shooter, and that's all it is.
And it's good at what it does,
right?
But that's all it is.
Right, and that's the problem with it, is that's also its downfall. Like, it's good at what it does, but that's all that it's got going for it. As we're like, you look back in the day with X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, it also had arena modes, but it also had like campaigns and some dynamic stuff in there too that you could do, and some story stuff, and it was challenging because 90s games did that. They were actually hard. I think there are fewer and more far between games that actually deliver a good balance of story, content, and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? And I think that we have had a lot of potentials that have come down the pipe. I think I think the next big potential, and we're still waiting to see, will be whenever X4 comes out, and see what X4 offers us, because they're toting a lot of interesting stuff. But that's a single player experience, and too many things are trying to be more social and interactive, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then, like, where does that leave someone who really wants to be immersed in a story and lore and feeling like the hero again? Because we don't have too many Mass Effect trilogy style games anymore. We don't have too many Master Chief style games anymore. I don't care what you say about Halo 5 or 4 and all that other stuff. Like, the trueness of what Halo was 1 through 3, and then Reach and ODST were also a lot of fun too. But I'm talking about like the hero games. There's no Half-Life like Gordon Freeman's anymore. There's not really. It's not like, I mean, you could say Kratos from God of War kind of is like that, but all those games are all one-offs. There's no.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm really glad that we're the space game podcast and not the battle royale game podcast, because that genre is already sunk.
Yeah, and like you look at the market industry in general. Like, look at the next Call of Duty. They're not going to have a campaign in there anymore. They're doing away with all that stuff in favor of lining their pockets with money. What's going to be the cash?
Aren't they doing a battle royale?
That's exactly what they replaced the single player with, was a battle royale.
Yeah, it's going to have God knows what in it, but it ain't going to be no Well, they could go the inverse, right? Where it's always been like, yeah, you buy the single player, and then we'll give you the beginnings of the multiplayer, and then we'll sell you maps and stuff.
Well, wasn't it Black Ops 1 or something like that sold them separately? You could just buy the campaign, or you could just
Black
buy
Ops
the
3.
That's what it was. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if they're going to sell the single player separately as DLC, because it would be like the reverse of what we've traditionally seen, which would be funny.
Well, point is for space games, I think we're definitely in the middle of things, but I think we're at the tail end of the middle, getting towards the end.
I agree.
And it's not. I don't think we're in the end times yet, but we're like we're at the cusp.
Yeah, I get the feeling like we're about to go over the slow crest toward the downward part of the river. You know what I mean? If that makes sense? Like, we're kind of just cruising along the level part right now, and we're about to just
we haven't hit the last hill of the roller coaster yet.
Yeah, that's another good way to put it. Yeah, exactly. And I do worry about it. I do worry that this is all going to slow down and stop. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but there are fewer space games now that I'm excited about than I was a year or two ago.
Well, because there's a lot of games in general, and there's also been a lot of space games that have come out, but they're all a variation on a theme, right? They all have very similar aspects to them, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that,
No,
people like genres, but that there's a certain point in time where you're just like, great, it's another Master of Orion clone, or great, it's another one of these, or this is just another 4X, but instead it's got this mechanic to it that's different than that mechanic, and that can get like, how many different types of versions of Solitaire can you play?
It's true.
I guess the question that comes up is then, what were the signs from the original crash? What led up to that?
Excellent question.
Consoles.
I agree, 100%.
And the death of the joystick.
Yeah,
for some
consoles, 100%.
Yeah, when we because it was the tail end of the PS2 era, going into the PS3 and Xbox 360. I think once the Xbox 360 hit, it was such a versatile console that it was very easy to develop for. And not to say that it was like they were cheap games or that they weren't good games. It was easier to put games out there than it was onto a PC, and more people were getting into the casualness of the consoles, and it was like right at that height of just like, it was the boom and explosion of more gamers than ever before. Xbox Live was phenomenal in breaking through those barriers.
I think it was even before that. I think it started.
Well, the PS2 era certainly contributed, because the PS2, consider how many consoles that sold.
I think it started with the PS1. I think people saw how popular the PlayStation 1 was. And
yeah, but the PlayStation 1 was like, mid-ish 90s.
Yeah, and that's when I think it started. That's what I think the downfall slowly started.
I don't know if it slowly started then. I think it slowly started in like 2000, 2001.
I don't think so, because the last like big space game of the 90s was Free Space 2, and it was abysmal sales. Abysmal.
Well, and then think about the fact that we had two major MMOs that launched in the same year that were space like sci-fi MMOs in 2003.
But only one of which exists now.
and then the year before, now, but I'm talking about then, like you were talking about the slow decline starting way before then, like, you had Earth and Beyond, you had EVE Online, you had Star Wars Galaxies, all that were running at the same time at that one point. And those weren't the only three space games at that time, or MMOs at least. I'm talking about just MMOs. I feel like, if you want to talk about like a space sim, maybe, like where it's, in a cockpit, yes, those started declining, in the late, mid to late 90s, sure. But space games, no. I feel it was in in those early 2000s is when that decline started happening, and it was just, and I think it definitely took a hit when the 360 came out the most. A lot of gaming genres took a hit when the 360 came out.
Yeah, I think the aughts, the mid aughts, around when the 360 came out in 2006, 5, 6, around then.
I think it was 2006ish, yes.
But yeah, I think that was like the lowest point for PC gaming in general too, because everyone was all console, PS2. Like, I worked at an EB for a year or two, and I saw the PC section just getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it was like relegated to a back wall, and that was it.
Yeah, I think that's also regional too, because there was a GameStop where I went to high school, or close to where I went to high school in Texas, that had like a huge wall, like in the main part of the store at a GameStop, that just had nothing but PC games all over.
Well, that's good.
And I remember because that's where I got all of my copies of Elite Force and Star Trek Armadas 1 and 2 and a few other PC games there.
Right, but I'm just saying, I think like around that era of 2005, 2006 was probably the lowest point for PC gaming and space gaming. I think that's when the console effect, consolification, whatever you want to call it, was like in full effect.
Yeah, but I will say though, the subgenre of the space games, which would be like the space sims, i.e. like your TIE fighters and free spaces and stuff, those died way sooner.
Oh, those died way sooner.
Well, I mean, they burned out at different rates. It's pretty much how
true.
You have to look at it. Is some had, because you still had the first Star Wars Battlefront came out, very, very popular.
That's
still
true.
A space game.
True,
yeah,
and I guess the genre, I don't know genre, but the whole thing of space games kind of shifted away from Sims to kind of top down games, because you had Space Rangers, you had Escape Velocity, you had Star Wolves. You had a lot more top down games than you did back in the day, because they probably couldn't cost as much to make, for one thing. They're probably also a lot easier to make development wise. Which is probably why we see so many of them today.
I think as of right now, though, I think we're in the state that we're in now. We're still getting some pretty good stuff that is coming up, because Jim had me playing Endless Space 2 with him the other night, and that game shocked me. I was not prepared for that.
Out of all the
shocked me in a good way.
Out of all the recent 4X
the quality
games,
of it, or what?
Yeah.
It wasn't just there was some quality to it that I liked. I liked the dynamics of the game and how it played. Like, the combat was interesting. So instead of it kind of became like a Risk dice roll mechanic almost.
Yeah.
Where if you know you're going into a battle with higher numbers than the enemy is bringing, that your chances, your odds are higher of succeeding that battle. But you don't actually play the battle yourself. You just have to let the dice rolls do their thing. And I kind of found that to be interesting, because it's a very big space version of Risk, but like in a bigger sense than Risk is.
Especially coming off of Stellaris, because we played some marathons of Stellaris. And in that game, it's just kind of like, just auto make the ships, whatever my tech is right now, just, do it. And then once the ship is made, then you get like a group of like 20 of them, and you just throw them at the enemy, and it just happens, right? So you're not involved. But in Endless Space, you're a heck of a lot more involved, even though it's just watch the thing.
Well, and here's something that actually brings up a really good point about the genres that we're in with the way game development is in general, where even though a game's released, it's still not done, right? Like, there's still, granted, in the past, you could still get patches for games, right? And you could download the latest patch, right? You'd go to like FileFront or Gamefront or whatever, website you wanted to, and download the patch for that game. Now, a lot of the patching is all automated, but you also have developers like, Paradox, who have essentially patched Stellaris to be a completely different game than the one that originally came out. That's interesting and troubling all at the same time to me.
Yeah, speaking of Paradox, so they announced Age of Wonders Planetfall. I don't know how to process that. Does that mean we're going to get Crusader Kings Dune next?
No,
please?
No, the next Crusader. Well, no, it's the Rome game.
Yeah, I know, but please, Crusader Kings Dune, yeah, Harkoonnens.
I was really hoping for Victoria 3, but yeah. But some people in the chat here are saying that first-person shooters helped kill PC gaming for a while.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to do a lot with, like, if you made a flight sim, right? You'd spend 4 or 5 years making a flight sim, a whole bundle of money, and then you'd sell it to maybe 50,000 people. Well, you made Doom, and you sell that to a couple million people. But if you made another flight sim, you're still going to get 50,000 people.
I wouldn't think first-person shooters killed PC gaming, but they might have helped contribute to the death of space games.
Well, I think it's the mega hit thing is what does it, right? You need a blockbuster because you're not going to do blockbuster numbers with certain genres. So why bother even making them? All right.
Well, because that goes back to the 360 is what I was getting at, because like you had Halo on the 360 that came out roughly right after the 360 did, right? So that was 2006. So that was a huge. I mean, you go. I still have like huge fond memories of getting Halo 3 back in the day and being like, "This is amazing," you know. But like, there was also still really great stuff coming out on the PC because you still had all of Valve's stuff, you know, with the Half-Life 2 episodes and Team Fortress 2 and Portal 2 and Left 4 Dead. Like, all that stuff was still making waves on the PC.
That's true. But Serial Kicked also brings up another issue. He says, this is an interesting thought. In the current market, it's for indies only and less for AAA games.
That's what the Switch is going for. They're going for a lot of indies.
The Switch,
they really are.
But I would venture to say that is not the same thing as the PC market. The PC market.
Sorry, folks. Discord just refreshed itself.
Did you guys hear anything I said?
Yep. I did.
I did not, because Discord refreshed itself. Can you please repeat?
Oh. So no one heard what I said. Great.
I did not. It was probably amazing. Please repeat it.
No, not really. I was really getting to the point that, like, and maybe in a confined space, which is a console market, the indies are doing really well, especially in the Switch kind of category. But when you look at something like the Steam market, which is where I would arguably say is the heaviest use of your PC gamers, they're going to be in the Steam platform a lot. There are a lot of indies coming through there because, good God, every month there is like how many like ridiculous amounts of games that keep getting put on their platform every month. But like the level of transparency as to like what you're looking for is so difficult. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack as to what you're interested in. And you can refine some things and you can block certain things from showing up, but at the same time, it's still like a huge pile of, oh God, I'm overwhelmed as to what I'm getting. And that's what kind of makes the consoles nice in a sense, is because you're limited as to the options that are presented to you. The PC market is just so like inundated with games coming at you from every direction.
Yeah. Do you feel that's going to be a factor in when the genre finally takes a downturn? It's just going to be either there's too many or discoverability.
I think it's going to come in waves because, like, right now, I think one thing that's helping to kill a lot of stuff is this idea of matching trends. well, this company's doing a battle royale, so we need to do a battle royale too.
God,
this company's doing this, so we need to do that. And so I think you're going to start seeing a lot of those trends. And right now, one of the biggest growing trends besides the battle royale, I think, is the mech trend. You're seeing a lot of mech games. And now that's not a complaint. I'm just making an observation.
Yeah, I'm shocked at how many mech games we've seen recently. I'm
shocked that there's more and more coming out. Like,
it was like, okay, MechWarrior 5's coming and BattleTech, and then that just it's like Chris Roberts kicking open the indie door for space games again, right? It's like, oh, they're making another MechWarrior. Everybody make a mech game.
And
now, bear in mind, BattleTech is going to be 35 years old next year. So there is, I mean, there's a lot of fans who've been waiting for this.
Yes, and to that I want to say, what took you guys so fucking long? Because my God.
Exactly.
Well, and so that's the kind of the point I'm getting at. I think what's really going to be the death of the space thing is just the continual evolving of trends all the time, and that's what happened the first time we saw space games go away. Is it was just the evolving trends of the massiveness of the consoles and just how the console market just exploded during those mid 2000s. Like, I mean, it was pretty big before that. Don't get me wrong, but like, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 definitely made huge waves in the industry. And I would venture to say, and I'd argue to say, that the 360 is probably one of the grander consoles we've had in the console genre in general.
Well, just look at the numbers. I mean, the PlayStation 2 in its lifetime sold over 155 million consoles. That's just consoles, not just games. That's just consoles alone.
Right.
Jeez.
So, I think that's going to be a trend we're going to see. So I think, with the ever evolving trends of the battle royales, then you're going to just see the game type trends also happen with. Free to play was definitely a trendsetter that kind of made some waves. And there's been a lot of like the Asian market influence in some of that. Not like a full 100%, but that's also like where the loot box kind of thing is also kind of come into play a little bit, is from that market too, because a lot of stuff over in the Asian markets are free to play games with like in-game purchases. There's a lot of that over there. Not everything, but there is a lot. I mean, like, look what happened with the Hellgate London game, for example. That game got sold off to a Korean company, and they turned that essentially into a free-to-play in-game app purchase game over there. And then eventually that game just died in general. I thought, and that was crazy when I heard that it got sold to like a Korean company and they started doing stuff with it.
That is nuts. That really.
But that was years ago, of course.
Right. But it's kind of interesting. I think Jim brought up an interesting point earlier. I think one of the things that saved space games throughout its darker period was modding. And I think that's probably what'll save it again. Like, so many games from the 90s could be modded.
Well, there's been quite a bit of that too.
Thank God.
Already, I do have issues with like the less and less of the AAA style games allowing for the modding, but some of it's still in there, but not as much. Although I am thankful for games like Arma 3, for example. They got full on like Star Wars campaigns with like Star Destroyers, or you can like
really
get inside of yeah, there was one I was watching the other day where these guys like started their campaign inside of like a small Star Destroyer, and they hopped into like a landing craft. They flew out of the Star Destroyer, landed on the ground, and
holy crap!
I was super impressed by that. I do think that mods, and especially modders, can keep games alive for a very long time. But
whole
I have a hard time seeing a lot of space games today getting massive amounts of mods to be able to do that kind of stuff. I mean, unless it's like the builder games like Avorion or Space Engineers or Empyrean or.
Yeah, those are gonna be pretty big, I think, which I'm excited about because people love building crap. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, because we did see that as a trend. That was a wavy trend, right? Minecraft paved the way for that. It became a lucrative thing, and then you saw every variation of it.
Oh my god!
I mean, I don't how many Minecraft clones are there out there alone? You know, so.
And then there's the survival game trend as well, which is still going.
Still going, but the survival game trend morphed into the battle arena trend. Like
True.
there's less and less of the survival games, and more of them are being converted from survival to
battle royale.
Look at Ark. Ark was a survival game that got turned into a battle arena.
Wait, what? Ark is not a survival game anymore?
No, it
is. But
for
they
a
also
short time they put one out that was Ark just survive or Ark Survival something, because they had Survival Evolved, right? And then it was like an Ark Battle Royale, but I can't remember what the heck that was.
It was just a Battle Royale game.
It was honestly one of the first of the Battle Royale games. I mean, other than stuff that was a mod.
Then there was like the H1Z1 stuff, and then
but that's all the guy, right? The PUBG guy. All those were him. Like there was
but still
Arma mod, and then H1Z1 and PUBG. So it's the same dude, like going company to company making games. But it's like for Ark to be like, hey man, we're gonna put like a survival of the fittest, I think they called it.
Yeah, survival of the fittest. That's what it is.
Now that brings up another game that's interesting that you and I actually played, right? It was what the heck was that game? It was starts with a C, maybe. It was that thing where you dropped on the island and they had the announcer, and it was kind of a cartoony version of that. You'd like drop out of a crate, and then you'd like pick up a rock and hit it with a stick, and then it turned into an axe, and whatever the heck the name of that game was. That thing just ceased to exist almost overnight. Like before the other battle royale games got popular, that thing was just gone. And I think it was like some poor decisions they made in balance or something.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting trends, and not everything has worked out. But then you look at like Fortnite, for example. You know, that game started out as one game, then they added in the battle royale mode version, and then after that became hugely popular and successful, they put out the mobile port, and that thing is making $1 million a day.
It's ridiculous because the game's free. So where's it making its money? Like all cosmetics
and game stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Pokemon Go makes a lot of money too.
Is Fortnite the one that's going to be doing a $100 million tournament?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Epic Games, man.
Oh my god. Wow, Christ. Jesus.
It's a thing.
That's
the dream, right? It's like the eSports. Like we're gonna all get rich and play games professionally. And,
do you notice some of that? Do you know some of that stuff never works for space games though? Like is there been a battle royale space game?
No, there's been a MOBA space game.
Well,
there's been a few
like God Factory and.
Well, I mean, Battle Arena, the definition being that you drop in with the bare minimum and then you build up to something more. There is. Oh, what was that one where we played with with the developers? It was a top-down one. It was kind of like that.
Oh,
where you upgrade your ship over like through the game as
fuck. Oh God, I can't remember.
Well, there's Universe in Warfront, which is developed by one guy, and that has both MOBA and RTS aspects to it.
Okay, yeah. There's also there's Dreadnought. Thank you, Joshua. There's that MOBA.
Fractured Space.
Well, those are MOBAs though. Those are not as battle arenas as.
Yeah, it's not like a PUBG. Like you drop in, you got you don't even have your ship.
Actually, I'd actually say Dreadnought's more of an arena than a MOBA. It's just straight arena. It's not even a battle arena. It's just an arena.
I would if they had a battle royale space game, I might play it. I don't give a damn about battle royale.
It would be so arcade stupid though, because
it would be.
Fly through the ring and get a gun, and Elite already tried that.
Oh yeah, why doesn't Elite have racing? Like,
because they're dumb.
They're so stupid. Like Evercron has racing.
Because their game is bad and they should feel bad.
Freelancer has racing.
Or Orbital Racer has racing. Shocking.
Yes.
No Man's Sky has racing, although it's on ground.
Wait, it does?
Yeah, they got a race terminal you can buy.
You actually have the ability to, when you build your base, you can actually build a racetrack to race your vehicles on.
Oh, that's kind of nifty.
That's pretty cool.
Well, the other thing is that when other people visit your base, they can race on the track you made. And you can set up a leaderboard on it where they can race against your best time.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, with the next update, which is coming to No Man's Sky, the multiplayer stuff is coming.
July 24th.
That's gonna, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, Jim and I were talking about that earlier. You can do cooperative base building, which is I'm actually looking forward to, because it's better than just saying like, oh, you can go look at my base. Cool. Well, where are you? I'm the wisp over here. I'm just a ghost, a figment of your.
I actually double dipped on No Man's Sky in order to have something ready for when the multiplayer goes live.
Well, I'm shelving it until that next patch, because I played it for a few hours. I'm like, this is boring. I'm not really big into survival games, but I was bored. I was like,
there's a creative mode.
You can do the creative mode.
Yeah, I
you
think
can totally play
that.
creative mode.
Are there still missions and stuff to do in creative mode?
It's the same game. You just don't have to
Oh, really? Okay, they didn't explain that very well then. Okay, I'm gonna play in creative mode.
It's just like whenever you play Subnautica, then you don't have to like eat and drink and stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna do that then. I'm just gonna do that as long as there's still stuff to do.
Yeah, the normal mode and the survival mode and creative mode are all separate, so you can have separate saves for each of those modes.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try that then.
I'm guessing that they'll do the same sort of thing for multiplayer. Is that you'll have separate saves.
Oh, okay. All I wanted to do, I didn't want to worry about fuel and all that crap. I just want to fly and discover things. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, you can totally do that in creative mode. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna. I was really getting frustrated.
Right there.
That is my bag. No, they didn't really explain it well. I thought that like creative mode took out all the gameplay, and that's all you did was build stuff. That's how it kind of came across to me. You know, but if like you can actually fly around and do missions and find stuff and do the story stuff, then
you can still explore.
Okay, good. I spent money on that thing. I might as well freaking get my money out of it. Money's worth out of it.
That's one game where you get into it. You get out of it what you put into it, pretty much. But if you want to explore, you got plenty to explore. You know, there's something like 256 plus galaxies, literally.
Jeez. Okay. Serial Kick says the gameplay is mining, so removing the need for mining, all you have is a nice screensaver. That's what he says about No Man's Sky. But if you can actually play the game and not worry about,
you still have to mine and stuff. You don't. It's like discovering stuff, right? It's like I still can't launch my ship because I don't have any fuel, so I got to go find some.
But I don't have to worry about the stupid life support or that crap.
Well, you still have the life support and stuff. Yes, that'll still kill you.
What?
But it's the other stuff. You know, it's not as uptight about it.
Oh,
it's much relaxed.
Okay, good. That's all I want anymore. Cause I don't know about you guys, but I'm finding I'm getting less and less patient with games as I get older. I can feel death slowly creeping upon me.
You know what that is, though? I think it's not that you're getting less and less patient. You're just wanting a game that has more that makes sense to it. I think, and it's not that No Man's Sky doesn't make sense, but I guess the point I'm trying to get at is it's no TIE fighter, right? You're not following along a story that you're playing through in a casual sense. And part of me misses not necessarily the RPG element of it, but the depth of involvement into a game. Like, I feel pretty immersed into this because the storytelling aspects are interesting. The characters are likable, or they're so bad that you like how bad they are. You know, like that's a really good villain. I like that villain. He's a bad guy, but I like him as a villain. I don't think that some of that storytelling is there as it could be in some senses, but a lot of that stuff is different than developing a game itself. You know, building assets and such.
Right. Yeah. I find that I have less patience. Like back in the day, I don't know about you guys, but I would love the fiddly bits. Like, oh yes, I'll manage this colony for an hour and then go back to the rest of the game. But now it's just like, nope, don't want to do that. I just want to.
Well,
I just want to kill shit.
A huge factor is that you have so many games you have to play for review purposes. It's not.
It's true.
It's just not. There's not enough time anymore for that.
There is.
Although, I mean, you could do what I've done, which is devote yourself to one game or mostly one game, but it wouldn't work so well for our content production. No. So there is that.
I have tried to do that, and it doesn't last. Like, I can't keep the momentum going. Like, I tried to do that with Space Rangers. Like, I'm going to play this once a week. It lasted for about a month. It's like, fuck.
I mean, that's part of the reason why we do the Borderlands thing once a month. But
yeah.
And that works. But then again,
that
we have August coming up, and
that'll but it's variety, I think, is what the thing is. That's it's like you're finding enough variety in BattleTech, even though it's just one game, that you've put almost 300 hours in it. Where I guess it's harder for me to be able to do that, you know. And I worry that that's affecting how I feel about space games, too. You know,
burnout's a thing. It can be not necessarily burnout because of having enough time. It can also be just burnout because there's so much iteration of the same genres that
it's possible.
It feels samey.
It's possible. Like when I played Wing Commander Academy this past weekend, when that first came out, I was like, I'm gonna make all the missions, and I had a friend back in the day who he had it too, and so we'd make missions and we put them on a floppy disk and we trade them, you know, and then we'd play each other's missions. It was like, oh my god, this is so great. And then I tried to play it this weekend. I was like, I'm so bored. I'm so bored. What has happened to me? But I guess in a way gaming has also changed because you don't have a lot of games like that anymore. You know, which is probably good. We're on.
Yeah, I think the amount of games that we're getting though is also going to be a problem too. Not to say that not to say that we're going to enter the video game crash or anything like that, but you know, I definitely think that with an unending amount of options also comes boredom.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you think about all of the content, I mean, you know, this is exactly why I don't have cable television. Because it's like, you get like 800 channels and you're just like, I don't know what to watch.
Oh,
really?
God.
You got 800 channels. You don't know what to watch? Yeah, it's just like, nothing good's on. Like,
do you do that with Steam? Do you do that with Steam? Like, I want to play a game.
I don't even have to look at the Steam store. I can just look at my own library and go,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, what do I play?
I do that all the time.
Which is why I have a hard time, because it's like I will spend 6 months to a year playing nothing but Eve as my main go-to. But then there's times where I'm like, oh man, I've got this one game in my library I'd really like to play. Maybe I should go ahead and start playing it. And then I get sucked into that for like, you know, a couple of months.
Right.
My last big one, though, I think was Ghost Recon Wildlands. Like, I finally just decided to take the time just to sit down on the couch and plow through that one.
I'm probably going to play that.
I'm still playing my PC, but it was like I was streaming it up to our entertainment room and playing it up there.
I'm probably gonna get that on the next Steam sale. It looks really fun.
Wasn't the statistic like 70% of collectively of everyone's Steam library goes unplayed?
Yeah,
that sounds about right. And I think the big thing that kind of hit hard with that was the big thing with bundles. You know, that kind of started with like the Steam sales. You know, the Steam sales that kind of hit hard. You know, early on, I'd say probably 2007 roughly was like a good year that was just huge, and onwards. You know, you had these huge sales where you get like massive amounts of games for stupid cheap. And then from there, you had the introduction of Humble Bundle. And it was like, oh, look at like 20 games, $5. This is amazing. And you only really wanted like maybe one or two of the games that were in the bundle. And then the rest of it, you know, you didn't really touch. And then you did that for like maybe 6 months. And then you're like, Jesus Christ, I've got all these games that I'm never going to play. And then it became like a numbers game. Well, like how big can I make my library grow? And then it's just like spending money just to make that number go up. That's something that I did, and it was stupid and that was dumb. But like, you know, you start playing Steam, the game itself, and then you're just like overburdened with all these things. You're like, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to touch. And then Humble Bundle morphed into something kind of cool and crazy, and it's got its own store. And then you got the Indie Gala, and then you have like Bundle Stars that became something else. I forget what they call
Fanatical.
it.
Fanatical,
yeah. So bundling games is cool, but at the same time, it's come to a point where I don't even bother. Like I barely bother. Like if there's actually a game in a bundle where it would be cheaper just to buy that bundle for that one game, I might do it. But you know, at the end of the day, like I'm like, oh man, I can get all the Final Fantasies on PC finally. They're bad ports, but I can finally get them. When am I ever going to play all of the Final Fantasy games? Like ever? You know, I've been trying to get myself to play through Knights of the Old Republic 2 with all of like the content added back in mods. I haven't had like the opportunity to really just sit down and start it. I want to though. But like I just know that there's going to be another game that's going to call me, and I'm going to do the whole like go play something else for 6 months and then come back and Gandalf my way through it, going, I have no memory of this place.
I like how that's become so ubiquitous with that effect that you can just say it as a verb now, or is that a verb or an adjective?
More or less. Yeah. I just Gandalfed that game.
Totally Gandalfed it. Just got in there and went, what was I doing 10 months ago?
Well, that's why I haven't gone back to touch Fallout 3, because I played through a huge chunk of that game. I stopped for like a year and a half. I didn't touch it, and I came back to it, and I'm like in a building being attacked by 2 robots as my like latest save. And I'm like, what the fuck was I even doing? Like, why are they attacking me? What did I do to them? Like, you know?
Yeah, we love Gandalf. We wish we could see Moria.
I
get big bucks, folks.
Thanks, Dad.
God.
Don't try that at home.
No, I do love a good dad joke. But, wow.
That's a pretty groaner.
That is a groaner. We got a boo from Twitch. But I do have to say that, like, things that used to make me happy about space gaming, like I used to think digital distribution helped bring back space gaming. I used to think Star Citizen helped bring back space gaming, and now I'm starting to worry that these same things are going to kind of kill space gaming.
Yeah, I think part of the problem too is it's just the mass influx of who can make games, what qualifies as an indie game, the fast of evolution of genres. Like I mean, we were talking about it when I first jumped back on with you, but like, you know, the anime storybooks, those, the picture novels or whatever. I don't know what they call those. But anyway.
Visual novels.
Yeah, visual novels. Thank you. I mean, like, that's a genre, like, and I can't fault people for liking those. Like, I mean, everybody has their own taste, but like, I do have to question though whether or not an online distribution like Steam would qualify for that, because I feel like you would not see that type of a game on GOG, considering they curate everything that goes on their store.
They just added a large number of visual novels to GOG.
Did they add like the super sexual ones that can be like patched?
That I'm not sure on, but I do know they just announced that they were adding a large number of them.
See, that's the thing that I'm curious about.
Yeah, to me, it's like the visual novel stuff is, especially like the one you open up, and I don't know if they're making them in Scribe or what that program is that they do, but it's basically like it's a white page with text on it, and then a like radio button, choose 1, 2, 3, or 4 at the bottom, and it's like, how freaking lazy can you possibly be? Like the stuff like the choose your own adventure books, like the Steve Jackson the dungeon stuff that he did,
sorcery.
Yeah, that's sorcery, great. Exactly that. Which I had the sorcery books when I was a kid. I owned them, like all 4 of them. And to me, that's cool, right? Like, wow, we can actually
that's
have
quality.
this.
Yeah, that's production model quality.
But man, if it's just like it looks like a PDF, but it's got some radio buttons on it, get that shit out of here.
You know what? I take everything back I just said about GOG. I just did a lookup. I'm.
Are you disappointed?
I'm a little disappointed.
I see what you just posted in our admin chat. Oh, that's
Listen, again,
found the money, huh?
Listen, again, I'm not criticizing people who like those things. That's not my concern. I just question whether or not those kind of visual novels, I don't know.
Yeah, the bronies, the hentai freaks, it's like...
Remember when GOG meant good old games? when they started. Remember that?
If we could just get all the furries...
Funny thing is that particular game is actually a mech combat game in
what?
Space.
What?
Yeah, it is.
Which one?
It is. The one that Hunter linked.
What's it called? Sunrider Academy?
Oh, Sunrider is actually okay. Well, the second one, not great, but because that's just like Japanese high school girls in trouble. But the first Sunrider game was actually pretty darn cool, because it was actually like a hex battle map thing, and yeah, there was some combat and crap, or some conversation crap in between combats, but there was actually a game in there. It wasn't like a PDF. Choose which page you flip to next.
Well, why is that the damn, like...
Why is that the thumbnail? Because it sells. That's your answer right there.
That gets eyes on it.
And the thing is, there is actually a game there, as Jim said. It's just that, of course, if you want to get eyes on it, use the screenshot from the game that's going to get eyes on it.
Right, but like, I mean, you look at something like The Witcher, and they're not posting like the bathtub sex scene as like the...
There's a bathtub sex scene?
Their thumbnail for
the unicorn.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Tell us about the unicorn. No, that's private. Actual dialogue choice. But yes.
What?
Sorry, it's kind of funny. I'm not
spoilers.
That's an actual dialogue choice from the game?
Yeah, it's like
yes.
It's like, tell us about that unicorn, Geralt. That's private.
Oh, okay. No, listen. I'm done. Like, look at this. Hold on a second.
What?
Defend this. Somebody, please.
Why don't you just put it in the stream?
Defend this. Defend that.
Oh,
that.
Oh, son of a bitch. I'm glad you... I was about to say just put it in the stream chat, and I'm really glad you didn't. Because...
Where did you put it, sir?
In the admin office.
Chat. It's an admin chat.
It's I can't.
But I'll defend it. Why is this the thing?
Before I look, does it have the word Sakura in it?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, it's another Sunrider game apparently.
Oh, that.
Boy.
Well, you see, it's actually it's her and her clone, and they're whatever. I can't defend that shit.
Yeah,
but the text on the video for the thumbnail, like what?
But I'll defend it, right?
What does it say? What is it? I can't read it. What does it say?
It says, "But I'll defend it." Like,
what?
How can you?
You have to fight for your right to party.
If anybody's curious, Sunrider Liberation Day Captain's Edition
on GOG.
The thumbnail for the video on GOG are censored. Two females. It's censored.
And the way they censored it,
censored is they just removed the nips and any genitalia.
But they kind of
like all
but they kind of like instead of where they would blur it is where the play button is, which is kind of hilarious.
And in the text in the thumbnail it says "I'll defend it," and I'm like, now I'm sure there's a game here. Like the space stuff in here actually kind of looks cool.
There is a game there. There is a game there.
I'm just having a hard time.
It's probably indefensible.
It's the choice of the thumbnail that's indefensible. It's not the game itself. The game itself is actually decent. It's just
even if you go through the trailer at minute 1 and 56 seconds, it's all there too. But anyway.
Oh boy. Sorry, Dot Theory. We go on tangents. You zoned out for a moment. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that.
sorry.
No,
listeners and viewers.
It's fine.
But anyway,
we're just helping with awareness of this product.
Discoverability is a serious issue with space games.
You never know what you'll discover. Space games.
And here's the thing though. Like this, I'm looking at all the other stuff about this game, and I am intrigued by it. But like, I'm having a hard time with all the other nonsense.
I'm intrigued. I would like to see more boobs. But yes.
more bobs, please.
Boobs your uncle.
So let me gauge you guys, getting back on the topic. Do you think that do you think that the space game genre is going to see any kind of serious decline in the next 2 or 3 years?
Can't decline as fast as this episode has, no.
It's not fair.
I don't know if it will see a more rapid decline. I think in 2 to 3 years we'll see whether or not it is going to start to rapid decline, though. If that makes any sense.
No, that does make sense. I think what you're saying is that there'll be a point where we can be like, oh yeah, there's either less coming out or more crap coming out. This is about to splash. This is about to splash down.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll start in the next 2 to 3 years, or we'll find out in the next 2 to 3 years when it will start. You know.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. It might not fully happen, but we might feel ourselves going over the falls, as we were talking about earlier.
I don't know. I think it's got enough air in it to sustain it for a while. We'll be okay.
It might. I mean, we got that Rebel Galaxy game coming out. We still have, who knows? Star Citizen might be good.
Yeah,
maybe.
In 2050, it might be great in 2050.
Because today the next generation Bridge DLC for Star Trek Bridge Crew just came out for PS4, and I did get it, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the thing that I wish was happening was more modability in these games, because I cannot name a space game that has come out recently that has modability like a free space. So it's like, well, when they're gone, they're gone.
Well, as freeform as modability is, I think what you're getting at, because you get stuff like Space Engineers that has workshop mod support, but that's not you're not making a total conversion mod out of that. Is what I think what you're getting at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you can't do all that. And I really wish that was there. In fact, if somebody would just make the platform, don't even make the game, just make the platform. Like, hey man, here's open, like space game toolkit. Here you go, $20.
People
whatever.
Can still do that
and
with
for
free
$20,
space too.
20, yeah, but like $20 buy-in, and then you get support. Because free space is not supported, right? But you get a supported engine that you would have to make your own assets for and stuff, but like make whatever the hell you want with it, and you'll have the support of the guy that you bought it from, and that way you could have like a whole bunch of stuff get made, right?
Maybe like remember
like,
back in
okay, so the guy that made the Battlestar Galactica game, if he would just put that engine out for like $20 and just be like, hey, there's no game here, there's no spaceships in it, there's no assets or anything, it's just the engine, stick your own shit in here, dude, there would be an X-Wing tabletop game overnight. Just bang, it would be in there, and he would sell a lot of that. Just saying. But I mean, he's got the BSG license, he ain't never gonna get the X-Wing license, so if he wants to make that money, that's how he would do it.
Yeah, it reminds me of those old EA games from back in the day, the construction kits. Do you remember those? They had a few of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Remember Adventure Construction Kit?
Yeah.
And then there was Wargame Construction Kit, which was actually kind of cool.
Oh, were those the SSI ones? It was like Age of Rifles and whatnot. Oh, those were amazing. And there are a lot of
it was a good time.
There are a lot of games that come out with level editors and things like that. But yeah, nothing has really hit the level of total modness that Free Space 2 has. Well, maybe, what about Homeworld? Would you say Homeworld has hit that level of modness, or maybe
this is modness?
Well, I mean, Homeworld's got plenty of mods out there. I haven't checked the modding community for Homeworld in a while. I need to go back and check. But like, there was someone who was making a total conversion Stargate mod at one point. Although when I last checked it, it did feel like the progress of that was kind of slowing down. So I don't know how far they actually went with it. Like, I mean, you look at Sins of a Solar Empire had great modability because we got Star Trek Armada 3 out of that. There's like tons of mods for that game as well. But I don't think we've gotten something like, back when we got the Quake engine, where like people were making games left and right out of the Quake engine. I mean, not everything was great, granted, but I mean, you look at what Valve did with Half-Life, and then from there you had Blue Shift, Opposing Force, Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, Day of Defeat, and all of those have become major players, or at least they were at one point major player games, even spawning sequels in some scenarios. And so, you look at that, and you look at what like a mod could potentially become at some point, given the right licenses and the right talent behind it. And a lot of these modders do some really great work, man. Like those Star Trek Armada 3 guys, like holy crap, did they put a lot of effort into that.
And that Star Trek mod for Stellaris is also really amazing. Was? They're not doing it anymore?
No, Stellaris
has declined.
The base game of Stellaris is better than the mod, and the base game of Stellaris sucks now. So
what?
Put that
together. They broke the mod because it's like even the Klingons don't attack anybody, and it's
the Klingons are somehow docile. You're like, what?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that happened under the hood, and the mod hasn't quite figured it out yet. So no.
Like, yeah, the base game of Stellaris is actually better than the mod now, and the base game of Stellaris sucks. So, like, if you think about that for a second,
that's depressing. I was about to buy that
because even as when I was playing by myself, it was just like things just didn't make sense or work or flow in good ways at all. So, but anyway. There is some good work out there still that are doing really great total conversions, but when the developers like Paradox can change the game so drastically, it can actually break some of those mods. And this is exactly why I have a problem with Space Engineers, is because Space Engineers is not a fully released game, and every like update always breaks mods.
They broke it on the weekly.
Well, yeah, and it's such a tedious thing to always keep up with. I mean, you can automate a lot of that stuff, sure, but it's just a lot to go through and manage and deal with. But you know, I dare say nothing has come quite as close as like what the Discovery folks are doing to the freelancer or whatever it is.
God,
like that.
Right? God,
those Discovery guys are doing some crazy modifications to that game.
And the Free Worlds guys. Have you seen what the Free Worlds guys have been doing to Freelancer?
Oh, with the Star Wars stuff?
Yeah. Holy, it's so different. Like there's this whole hyperspace mechanic now that is completely different from how Freelancer you got around in Freelancer. Completely different, and it's amazing, and it works. Fudge.
I will argue that one of the best space games we've actually had in our time has come and gone.
What is it?
At its like tippity top prime before it got changed to Oblivion, I would say that Star Wars Galaxies was probably one of the prime games that we ever got as a space game. I mean, it had everything that Star Citizen's trying to do right now.
It's true.
I mean, it had you know, I mean, you want to talk about flying spaceships, landing spaceships on the ground, multi-crewing ships, all of that stuff. Owning your own base, owning your own city, owning all of that stuff. I mean, yes, there were things that are a product of its time that are kind of hard to get over today by today's standards, sure. But like for its time, I think we have not gotten to a level of a game quite like that ever again.
Yeah. I mean, what I've played of it, it really is an impressive achievement in how much it can do and how much of the Star Wars universe they've modeled. And it's just
even a lot of the private communities out there are doing some very interesting things with modifying the old game and coming up with their own servers and stuff. Like there's some people who have modified and made their own servers where you can play as a Hutt. You can play like as almost any alien race in the galaxy. It's quite impressive what they've done.
If you play as a Hutt, can you start your own criminal empire? How awesome would that be? Probably not, but that'd be awesome if you could do that.
I am Veloxi the Hutt.
Ho 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 ho. Tata Baputa Hunter. Ho 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 ho. I don't know what he said. I was trying to be close.
That's good, man. That's good.
But so it sounds like we're all at least in somewhat agreement that as of right now, the space genre, the space type of game is on fairly solid footing and probably will be for a little while now. That's what it sounds like we've come away with. Does that sound about right to you guys?
I think it would take some major genre shifts for space gaming to level off and then die off. Because at this point there are enough types of space games coming out that whatever niche you have, it's probably sated by something. But if those trends change significantly and people stop buying space games because there's a hot new thing that everybody's playing, then that might be what it takes. But it would take a while for that to happen because enough of those genre hits would have to happen for 3 or 4 subgenres to die off. And then you'd really see a plunge because at that point there's enough dominoes that have fallen for everything else to sort of fall along the way. Yeah,
you're right. It's not for space game to really start falling. Much of gaming would have to fall along with it. Yeah, I think you're right. And it's funny. I came into this thinking, "Oh, we're on the downward slope already," but I think you guys are right. I think we're not. I think we're. I don't know if it's flat, but I think it's steady. I think we're like in mid-flight. If we're going to use that kind of, if I can use that kind of analogy, where like we're in the middle of our flight across the country. It's like we're over Nebraska right now. So we got a ways to go. Oh my God. Eric, I'm not sure VR is really going to do a lot more for space gaming than it already has.
No, we'd need a super killer app for that.
Yeah, and I don't know if Elite's it. Or Star Citizen. Does Star Citizen even have VR?
Probably. Know. I would hate to see the frame rate.
Oh. Weren't they supposed to be doing some like full motion like mouth movement when you talk or something?
Oh, like that? No, that's a different thing. That's the face tracking mimicking stupid bullshit thing no one wants that they're doing.
Yeah, and then they'll put the Tobii eye tracker on it so that your eyeballs roll around, and then you can roll eyes at people or something.
Oh my God. That's when I finally gave up on Star Citizen, when they announced that face thing.
Really? It wasn't the fidelity of your eggs?
Yeah, I was going to say procedural fried eggs is what did me. That's the thing.
It was all fidelity.
It was all the decline.
Think about this, though. In the Star Trek VR thing, they could do anything, because all they got to do is put the holodeck in. And then you could do anything. But they won't. But you could go in there and totally fry some holodeck eggs.
I just really want a Deep Space Nine add-on for Bridge Crew, so I can go to the promenade and get a Raktajino, and then fly the Defiant with my Raktajino on the bridge.
I want Viscera cleanup detail holodeck.
Now, if Pulsar ever went
it's that self-cleaning,
route
Jim,
of adding mod support into it, where you could go around fly Defiant if you want to, or land on a station. You got DS9 there. You get on the Defiant, take that and start warping around the universe. That would be awesome, because that's a framework that's already there.
What I would love to see from Pulsar is more, what do they call that? God, where it continues on. Like maybe like a dedicated server variation.
Oh,
persistence.
Okay. So
some more persistence with your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, the way they do it now is the universe only continues to go on while you have the ship up and running, because the universe gets more dangerous the more you warp around.
That's true.
I don't know how well that would work out, at least not for the way they've built the game's framework.
Yeah, that'd be fun though. Does Bridge Crew have away missions? Like at all, or is it all on the bridge? No. Oh, it's all on the bridge.
You are all on the bridge. You can transport survivors off of ships though if you need to, and that there are missions in which you have to do that. Like the Kobayashi Maru is in there, and you actually have an achievement for how many people you can save.
I'll tell you that with our luck, if they did add away missions, your movement would be as slow as Star Trek Online. Like, am I an old man with a walker? Why am I just jaunting? This is so slow. Yeah.
When you absolutely positively have to be there tomorrow.
Then you walk there in Star Trek Online because it's so slow. I don't understand. Anyway.
And yet the space stuff is so good in that game.
What was that?
And yet the space stuff is actually so good in that game.
I'm getting better at it. I'm finding that the controls are a little bit weird, but I'm getting a little better at them. But yeah, the space stuff is definitely the highlight of that game. No question. But yeah, so I think we've all, come to the conclusion that space games will be doing fine for a while, which is good, because I was starting to feel a little worried. Maybe it's my own burnout. I don't know. I do feel a little burnt out, I think, which is probably normal. Anyway, so yeah. So, folks, just a couple quick programming notes before we wrap up. This week on the LAN party on Thursday, we are going to be continuing our board game extravaganza with Through the Ages, the civilization-y card game, board game thing that I'm terrible at. Can you do a comp stop in that? Can you play? Is it just people versus people, or can it be people versus AI, or can you have AI?
There is AI you can play against, but I'm not sure if you can do it as a comp stomp. One thing I will have to note, though, for anyone who has not yet played this particular version of the game, the tutorial is very well written. It's probably one of the
really funny.
Best, it's one of the best digital board game tutorials I've seen.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how funny that was. It was like really well written. I actually laughed out loud. Surprisingly funny. Next week on the podcast, we're going to be talking about DLC. It's another fan-suggested topic. And remember, folks, if you have a suggestion for a topic, you can always hit us up with it. We're very open to suggestions. We won't always implement them if they're not very good, but we're open to hearing them. FYI. So yeah, next week we're going to talk about DLC. Like, do we want more expansion-y stuff, or do we like the paradox model of bits and bobs? I don't know. So that's what we're going to talk about next week on the show. So I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. I want to thank our Patreon subscribers, as always, for helping keeping the lights on around here. And thank you guys, co-hosts, for being awesome and keeping the conversation going. So thank you for listening, everyone, and have a great night. Bye-bye.